Joining us now is Texas Congressman Pat Fallon. Congressman, glad to have you with us tonight. You know, the spotlight recently has been on the escalating tensions between Russia and Ukraine. Why do you think China has fallen by the wayside here?
Well, you know, that's the thing we have to be ever vigilant about, Jen, is the fact that China has an economy that's 11 times the size of Russia. And they also have 11 times the population. So it's very evident to me that they're the clear and present danger and the greatest threat we face. And we have to remain, a lot of Americans don't realize that under the last year, in the last year of the Trump administration, China flew about 320 sorties into the Taiwanese defense zone. But in the first year of the Biden administration, they flew almost 1,000 sorties. So they're clearly testing Biden, and they're watching what will happen. They saw what happened in Afghanistan. They're watching what's happening and what will happen in the Ukraine as well.
Well, I got to ask you, though, because as much as China is definitely a threat and more of a threat than Russia, you know, there is this constant, what you're seeing, the fact that Russia is looking to invade Ukraine. We know that the U.S. diplomats, along with the British diplomats, are looking into potential economic sanctions, not only for Putin, but for his business associates and some of the businesses as well. What's your sense? Do you think these types of economic sanctions are going to be enough? And is Congress going to push the Biden administration to do more to stop Putin from threatening Ukraine?
Well, you know, Mercedes, that's a really good point. I think that Biden should have, instead of sitting idle, should have outlaid exactly what would happen to Putin if he does invade the Ukraine. Why don't we hit the secondary bond market with Russian bonds and sanction their banks like VTB, and of course sanction and freeze the assets of some of the oligarchs and their family. But then the big stick that we have is to deny them access to SWIFT and the electronic banking system in the world. Now, China will probably step in to try to mitigate that to some degree. But when we denied Iran access to SWIFT, it really crippled their economy. And Putin has got to be, you know, when you have no legitimacy as a ruler and you just rule by the barrel of a gun, it's a house of cards, and he's got to be very careful. And with an invasion comes inherent risks.
And, you know, Congressman, historically, China and Russia haven't been all that friendly, but it seems like something changed in the short year that Biden's been in office. You know, China's apparently been involved in the Ukraine negotiations to some extent. So what does Beijing have to gain?
Well, they're sniffing, you know what, they're sniffing weakness and wokeness. And the dictatorial regimes, surveillance state regimes, love wokeness. And who do you think they were really rooting for in Beijing and Moscow to win that election last year, or in November 20? They wanted the Democrats to win. I really truly believe that, because they're not putting America first. What Joe Biden has proven to the American people in the world is he's putting America last.
Well, I got to ask you, Congressman, as you know, Putin should be attending the opening ceremonies of the Beijing Olympics, obviously, I think, showing that he has strong relationships with President Xi. But we know that the Biden administration moved forward with a boycott from a diplomatic sense. But obviously, that's not going to be enough. Do you think our athletes should also, in some way, show basically protest against the human rights violations, against what's happening to the Uyghurs, what's happening to the great people of Hong Kong, how they're being basically killed and imprisoned by the Chinese communists?
Well, Mercedes, wouldn't that be great if athletes actually stood up for true human rights and not just the left, the American left's priorities and agendas? It's interesting how LeBron James will stand up and, quote unquote, be a social activist, but when it's going to hit his wallet, he just ignores China altogether. And I would love to see some of our young athletes show the world that America stands for certain values and true human rights and true equality. And how about this? Real democracy. I don't know. We'll see. But that would be wonderful to witness.
Yeah, we'd love to have them on this show if they did. Congressman Fallon, it is always so great to see you. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, Jen. See you, Mercedes. God bless.